Tell us how long you've been thinking about this project and what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, the president has an extraordinary number of initiatives to get more Americans online with high-speed broadband, whether it's his work on mobile, the work on ConnectEd, to get our classrooms online. We're on track over the next 5 years to get 99% of our classrooms into high-speed broadband with the libraries. But today we're really focused on home, and we're focused on the poorest Americans. And so the focus of the announcement in ConnectHome is 27 cities that we're starting with, that the HUD team, together with the president, are doing to get those communities online. There's 275,000 Americans will be affected by this, of which 200,000 are children. So can you imagine if you're not online, you go to class, you get assignments, and you go home and you can't do your homework. So that's the kind of work that this announcement is focused on.
Now, are there any plans to give some of these people the equipment to actually connect to the internet, if we're talking about the poorest Americans? And then what about people in rural areas or people who aren't in public housing? How do you expand this idea?
Yeah, the idea actually is affecting, there are several rural areas involved. In fact, the president is going to Durant, Oklahoma today, to the headquarters of the Choctaw Tribal Nation, because specifically the tribal nations are highly included and our rural Americans are included in this work. So the announcements are not a funding announcement, but more the HUD team is working on making sure that the programs that are already existing are being used and applied. So, for example, if you were building new housing, making it possible so you can run fiber and the resources that you would run so that some of the different dead spots within a housing project would be available for this. So the idea here is how do we get more of the Americans into this high-speed economy, into higher-paying jobs, and our children online for the education that they need.
And will you be providing any equipment to help them connect?
Yeah, so there's a range of public-private partnerships that are going into this. So several different companies. So one of them is equipment in the Choctaw Nation. There's a group that's going to be working on some of the modems, and that's sort of upgrading people to get online, as well as training. So the Khan Academy and a range of others are working. Boys and Girls Club will be doing training with folks. So it's a combination of like digital divide and learning, as well as the physical equipment, as well as the access. So Cox and CenturyLink and other providers are also moving today. Typically, to have a broadband package, you would maybe spend $30 to $50 per month. These guys are coming in at like the $10 to $20 entry point so that people can afford it. And in fact, some of the providers are going to do it for free.
And the government is offering free subscriptions to Google Fiber. You worked at Google for a very long time. What is the size of Google's commitment to this project? How many people are going to get free internet access through Google?
Yeah, so I don't work on Google specific stuff, so it's a combination of the Google Fiber team, the CenturyLink team, Cox, Sprint, a bunch of the different providers are stepping up. Some of them, I think in the case you mentioned, Google, are going to be doing it for free. A couple of the others are doing it for certain paid points, but the point is a package that's not at that more expensive price point, but a price point that a low-income person could afford.
And I don't see any mention of Comcast or Time Warner. Are they involved at all?
I think all of the different providers are evaluating, and all of those folks already have some of these programs in the different regions where they're working. Just these access point, that $9.95 to kind of $19.95 type of program. People are working to roll this out and making sure everybody is going to have an opportunity to join into this. And our focus right now in this announcement is this first 27 set of cities from Seattle to Durant today, where the president will be in Oklahoma, and really making sure that HUD has been working with these local folks to work through and make sure that people can get all the projects done. So, for example, like I said, when you're building new housing, can you get fiber throughout the housing project, as well as all the way into what we were talking about, getting modems deployed and people trained and access in.
Now, this seems to be yet another sign that internet service should be treated as a utility, like water, like electricity. How do you think about it, and what sort of considerations do you make to net neutrality?
Well, I'm really proud of the president's position. He's had the position on net neutrality to be positive for net neutrality from the beginning since he was a candidate. And the FCC, of course, controls that. So we were just part of weighing in together with the 4 million Americans who commented on this process, and we're happy with where we're going. You know, we don't want slow lanes and fast lanes. We want an unequal net neutral internet so that everybody's in. Same thing with this connectivity side. We want to make sure that the providers across our country are making this an opportunity that all Americans can participate with. heavy focus from us on the schools, as well as the president launched the Broadband Opportunity Council, which is right now meeting over the next couple months to look at where can we reduce regulation, how can we make more federal programs available, how do we support industry to really bring this to the American people at the speeds and scales that they are doing well at already, and how do we accelerate. It's so important for our economy to have internet access at high speeds available to all Americans, whether in a business context, a learning context, or for communities.
Now, I know the government is still unraveling what happened with the Office of Personnel Management hack. Millions of government workers affected by that, their information stolen. How long until you get a real idea of the scope of that attack? And does the administration have a specific cost and timeline for full protection to the extent that it's possible?
Yeah, so just around, I'm the Chief Technology Officer, not the Chief Information Officer, so I'm not leading those projects. The Office of Management and Budget CIO, the federal CIO, Tony Scott, is championing that. They're in the middle of a sprint, a cyber sprint, as well as looking through all the questions you just named. It's an interesting, just taking sort of a step back, whether it was when I was in Silicon Valley, it was just at the Fortune conference, the cover of Fortune today. This is a challenge for our country, whether it's in the private or public sector, and we all have to get really vigilant. As a technical person, top technical people are working on this, both private sector and public here in the federal government. And, it's critical. It's one of the biggest issues of our time. Is our cybersecurity president led, of course, the Cyber Summit earlier this year, bringing national attention and technical attention to this, and we're going to continue to do that work together with private sector colleagues to protect the country.
Now, people who come from the outside to work in government are so often shocked at how far behind the government is when it comes to technology. I wonder what was your reaction when you started this position, and what sort of challenges do you see remaining with integrating technology and government?
Yeah, I'm proud of the president for his leadership in pulling us technical people. I was in Silicon Valley. We've established, our team is part of architecting together with others, the United States Digital Service, which is now available across government. They're on their first 10 projects. Congress allocated $20 million to them to begin the projects. So we already have 130 people here who have come from Silicon Valley, companies like Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, Dropbox, etc., bringing that top technical talent in, as well as president's work to lift the top technical talent from the government up and in, so that we just really have this skilled American, I call it TQ, like IQ and EQ. Let's have TQ in our government at the leadership level. We have had that at various places, but it's been uneven, as you mentioned, and we want to make sure that every agency is able to deliver top products. We're the country that makes Amazon and Facebook and Twitter. We want this government to be able to make those kinds of extraordinary products. And so the teams are working on the Veterans Affairs offerings, on immigration, on, of course, healthcare.gov out of the HHS team and others. So I'm excited as a technical person who's come to government. It's refreshing. Actually, people are surprised by that, the entrepreneurial nature of this group. Just extraordinary people in our government that I'm lucky to have joined. And I encourage my Silicon Valley teammates and the technical folks to come join us. There's a path in, and the president and his team are incredibly receptive to the kind of new ideas that we have and architectural changes we're hoping to bring together with our amazing colleagues who are already here.
And lastly, Megan, what is the realistic, quantifiable legacy that you plan to lead?
I think our goal is to institutionalize TQ in government and its technical skills that are here at the leadership table, whether it's the present edition of my role, the Chief Technology Officer, embedded here at the White House in the Office of Science, Technology, and Policy. Our job is to bring data, innovation, and technology insights and inspiration and instigation and policy into the government and work with colleagues across. So we're going to continue to do that with every agency. People have been really receptive. Sometimes we do it as a pilot, and then we try to scale it and make it permanent with colleagues here. The U.S. Digital Service, I think, is going to be an extraordinary resource for our government going forward. Our founders were very technical, and we have tech all the way throughout. And I think President Obama and the team are really bringing the current set of best-in-class Americans in and up so that we can work with colleagues here. So that's what I'm excited about us doing. And also bringing more of the American people, back to the announcement today, into this innovation nation. I've been part throughout my career, public school kid, inner city Buffalo, got to work on science and technology and understand how fun it is and how amazing it is and how high paid it is. You know, these jobs pay 50% more than the average American salary. And so we want more Americans, like the President's Tech Hire initiatives, in on this kind of economic opportunity for their families. And so ConnectHome today is about bringing America's poorest families, and especially poorest children, in on the opportunity that we have as a nation and that we continue to lead on.